My name is Lindsay Bass, and this is my final research presentation through the Morningside College Graduate Program for Class EDUC 699. I graduated from Morningside College with a Bachelor's of Science degree in elementary education in 2010, and since then have been teaching 7th grade reading in the Sioux City Community School District. Because I have been teaching reading, I wanted to focus my area of study with something concerning student struggles in reading. And so I am focused on using the close reading process to increase middle school students' proficiency in reading comprehension. I'm going to start with a brief literature review. There were not many studies performed involving close reading and the process used, and so I decided to focus on comprehension as that is the basis for using the close reading process. So I wanted to quickly define comprehension as the process of simultaneously extracting and constructing meaning through interaction and involvement with written language. According to the RAND Reading Study Group, this involves three things: the reader, the text, and the purpose for reading. So a problem that most students face today is they struggle with reading comprehension, and this can lead to greater difficulties. Several studies have shown that poor reading comprehension can be linked to crime. And I believe this is due to the fact that the students lose confidence in their own abilities to read and analyze texts, and it also influences the way they perform in other academic areas. All of these struggles then in being able to read and comprehend what they read as they continue on through life, because this is a lifelong skill, then leads to these greater conflicts. Studies by Hume and Snelling actually show that the inability to comprehend reading is a type of disability. It is a dysfunction in the cognitive region of the brain that affects how we apply our experiences and connect with our schematic maps. And so if students are not able to read and then take from their previous experiences and form these connections with the text, then they are not able to comprehend the text, and that is a huge issue. The Texas Educational Agency determined that in order for students to construct meaning, it must be interactive, strategic, and adaptable. In 1994, Rosenshine and Miser actually put together this idea of reciprocal teaching, pulling from previous research that had been done in the field. What they set up was a set of questions that had critical thinking tasks aligned, and the teacher would participate in this dialogue with the students, either within small group or as a whole class discussion, but would require the students to not only take a deeper look at the text, but go back and look at the text and then discuss it either with the teacher, or then it evolved into discussions with peers. The results of the study revealed a significant a level of significance if all the strategies were actually used together as a procedure, which then, as I was reading this, led me to think about my own study and think about how I could combine various strategies in one form of process in order to boost students' comprehension. And that led me to the close reading process. And so the objective of this research and the purpose was to determine whether incorporating close reading increases student proficiency scores due to an increase in student reading comprehension while reading complex texts aligned to the Common Core curriculum standards. This impacts students because in combining these strategies, I was hoping to improve student comprehension so that they would feel more comfortable interacting with the text, but then also would have the dialogue and the critical questioning and all those components from past research that have shown to assist students in building comprehension. This also impacts teachers because if this does prove to be a useful procedure, then teachers should be utilizing this in their classrooms. The results will help to determine whether this is a valid process to use in order to increase reading comprehension in the classroom. Let's move on to the methodology. In this study, there were 108 reading students involved. They ranged from 11 to 13 years old. There were 49 males and 59 female participants. Of the 108 reading students, 8 were identified as English language learners, 27 were identified as having an individualized education plan or a 504 plan for accommodations, and 4 of these reading students were identified as being talented and gifted, which not only means they are advanced in their learning, but there's also a creative aspect there as well. For this research, there was an A/B research design conducted. The first 9 weeks included the baseline, so the general education curriculum was taught, and then the quarter test that was given at the end was used to measure the baseline period. Then the second 9 weeks, I implemented the treatment with then the quarter test at the end of the 9 weeks, measuring the progress students made as they practiced the close reading steps. We used text from the McDougall-Littell Literature Grade 7 textbook and online articles. I just had to ensure that any of the articles used needed to be rigorous and at the 7th grade readability level. The procedure for close reading is as follows. Step 1, a cold read, where students do not receive any instruction except to read the article. Step 2, to annotate and summarize. They can highlight any key terms or any notes that they think would be most essential to the article. Step 3, discuss with a partner. At this point in time, they will turn and share their notes and what they summarized with a partner and participation in that dialogue. Step 4, students listen and they reread through the article and they add notes as the teacher reads the article to them. Step 5, then the teacher models the thinking process. The teacher thinks aloud using strategies and annotative techniques and outlines all the essential and key information while demonstrating that thinking that the student should be experiencing if they are truly comprehending the text. Step 6, students will write down any additional notes and discuss questions with a partner, anything that they do not understand or are yet unclear about. They can participate in that dialogue and assist one another cooperatively. Step 7, students reread the text for a third time and then answer specific teacher-directed questions. Step 8, students then respond in writing to those specific questions. They will answer those completely and then add textual evidence to support their answers. So throughout the second quarter, we practiced these steps in the procedure, and then for the final test, the students followed that process on their own without the teacher modeling. So they reread the text, would annotate, would summarize, would answer the critical thinking questions, and then I used that data to determine if comprehension did improve from the test from the first 9 weeks as the baseline to the test results for the second 9 weeks with the treatment. So the independent variable was the close reading process, and the dependent variable was student comprehension. The results from my study confirmed the hypothesis that the close reading process increases students' reading comprehension scores in middle school. There was a statistical significance. So with the baseline 1 and treatment 1, I had a significant t-score of negative 8.29 with a p-value of 0.01 with a difference of negative 0.80. And so even with the sheer amount of students that I had taking the test, all participating in this research at the same time, there was a great significance between the mean scores of the tests taken. And you can see that here in the figure. This was a comparison of students' mean scores for both tests to analyze the difference between the baseline and the treatment data. So you can see for the baseline 1 test, the student's mean score was 73.06, and then we compare that to the treatment test, which was given at the end of the second 9 weeks as a part of the treatment phase, and that was 84.12. And so there was a great difference there in the difference in significance in students' mean scores. So we can see that the treatment did in fact cause student scores to increase from applying the close reading process. Looking at the limitations of this study, one of the limitations was the participant selection. This was based upon availability. The students did not have a choice. They were in my reading classroom, and so that can affect the results because the students may not be as invested because they do not feel they have a choice in the matter. Also, this was conducted in a 7th grade classroom only, and teachers or professionals in the field may not feel that the results can be generalized and applied to a different grade level that they teach, or even a subject matter area that they teach, because this was only conducted in a 7th grade reading classroom. And so that is something that needs further research. Also, the limited diversity of the school. This study was conducted in a Sioux City classroom that is in Midwest Iowa, and so diversity is very limited in socioeconomic status as well as ethnic diversity. Also, the length of a study was a limitation. Instead of having 2 9-week periods for a total of 18 weeks of study, the treatment period could be extended. The implications of this study is that more teachers should use this process because it does work. The results show that there is a significance in using the close reading process, and so administration should encourage teachers to use this process and should support teachers and professionals by providing the appropriate training, because this close reading process is used at the elementary level, the middle school level, the high school level, as well as in college. And so this does increase comprehension, and this benefits students in all subjects. And I will definitely continue to use this in the classroom, and I will encourage my colleagues to use the close reading process as well. The study does support past research because it did show a significance in the results as increasing comprehension. And so looking in terms of oral language and vocabulary development, questioning techniques, searching and identifying the text evidence to support claims and support answers, all of these devices are used within the close reading procedure. Not only are they listening to the text and rereading it multiple times, but they are also identifying key vocabulary terms. Teachers are providing the critical questioning techniques and looking at having students provide evidence with their answers to support that further analysis of the text. And so this aligns directly with reciprocal teaching and all of the effective instructional strategies, but combined as a process, not as standalone. For future studies, research in other subject areas would be beneficial to help curb the limitations of this study for being conducted in the reading classroom only. So in science, in civics or social studies areas, etc., would only strengthen the validity of the results if these studies do demonstrate and show the same significance as in this study. Also, future studies should diversify student participation. So conducting this research in other areas of the country and in other areas of the world would also be beneficial so that we could determine how students are affected regardless of where they live and regardless of ethnicity and social economic status. And then we can take another look at the results from that point. Also, for future studies, I would recommend conducting an independent sample study instead of an A/B research design, just because then you can see how the students are performing alongside one another during those periods of time instead of having one large group of participants, instead choosing a smaller sample size and then choosing some students to participate in the treatment and others not to form the baseline. This may provide more valid results or believable results because then the researcher is seeing how it is affecting the students alongside one another. The importance of this study was that early interventions to reduce such language learning weakness potentially have very important educational, social, and economic implications. Again, comprehension is essential. If students are struggling with comprehension, they will struggle in all areas of academic, and they may even struggle socially because they are not able to understand what others are speaking about or what others are writing about, and thus they miss social cues and are unable to participate in the manner that is expected by society. Also, there are the economic implications if students are unable to reach their full potential in school because of a lack of reading comprehension skills. And so this is a truly essential process in order to help students build their level of comprehension so that they can go on to and feel comfortable applying to colleges and universities or going out for the professions they desire, because as they combine the strategies, we do know that this improves students' comprehension with reciprocal teaching. This occurred, and then with this study, the results also showed significance that with these combined strategies within this procedure, there was an increase in student reading comprehension. This does affect academic performance, and thus with the demand on students to read more rigorous texts, there is a higher demand on expectations for students to comprehend more difficult level texts. And so with those high expectations for academic level work, we need to be pursuing every possible strategy and technique and process that would allow students to increase their comprehension as they read. And so this study was very important to me as a reading teacher and should be important to all teachers who are interested in increasing student reading comprehension in their classes. This is a list of my references. For any further questions, please contact me. Thank you for listening.